So you know the Sans origin that I covered like ages ago back in June? Well, there was a lot of bugs that came with that origin that I didn't exactly find out about because I didn't do any form of proper playtesting or any form of things along those lines. Basically, one of the biggest issues was that when you were to take damage in the Nether, you'd be teleported to the top of the bedrock roof, meaning that you'd be unable to get back into the overworld when that happened. Another one of the weird bugs that was also functioning is for some people the actual damage thing with your ability would not properly work. Well, today we have got not only a fixed version but a slightly altered version. This is basically going to be a better version overall, so if you do go on to enjoy this video, hit that like button down below. Hope you enjoyed a little bit of an intro. Let's get into these Sans, a reworked, remastered, fixed origin, created by Slayer, bug fixed by both Half Aussie and Weird Engineer. So thank you to those guys for doing some bugs fixes. They're not completely complete with it, there are a few bits and pieces they want to twinkle with first, but this is like a really good version. For example, right now the karma system is deactivated, but let's get into it. So the Sans origin, it's a 3 impact origin as you already know, and the description is you've been busy, huh? Basically this is for version 1.16.5. You can use it in 1.17.1, but I do think it does break a few different things, like potentially the beam that comes out with your main ability, which we'll go over in a moment. But yep, that's basically it. Let's roll into the actual abilities they are themselves. The first ability we have here is energy. You have a blue energy bar that will go up 1 point every 3 seconds, but only when you're not moving. This bar will also fill up completely when you do fall asleep. Basically, this blue energy bar is the thing that allows you to use a collection of your different abilities. For example, your dodging ability, which it does consume parts of this bar in itself, because once that runs out, you won't be able to dodge anymore, and therefore you'll start taking damage. Moving into the next ability, we have the first ability that was broken in the last version, the acrobatic ability. Due to your low health, you've learned how to dodge all forms of attack at the cost of energy. Now, originally what would happen in the last version of this origin, if you're in the Nether, you would take damage, you would do the dodge, but it would TP you to the top of the end of the Nether dimension, on top of the bedrock, meaning that you're no longer in the actual Nether, and if you don't have any obsidian on you, then you're kind of screwed because it's pretty difficult to die in that area as well. But from a bit of testing that I've just done recently is the fact that it doesn't actually do that anymore. Like, you will be staying in the main area of the Nether, you will be teleported around by a lot, especially when you jump into lava, but you won't be teleported above the bedrock. Now, what from the person who fixed it told me, they basically made an exception in the actual files to make it so that it will never teleport you above bedrock, and the same goes when you're already above the bedrock in the Nether, it will never teleport you below it. So basically it makes it so that the actual teleportation dodge ability does not bypass bedrock, meaning that you won't get screwed in those same situations that people have been through beforehand, from what I can tell from the many comments left about this one little issue here. There is another issue that was fixed as well, which we'll go over soon. Moving into your next ability, you've got the Gaster Blaster. This is your primary ability. Your creator also happened to make a weapon of war that you can still use to this day even if he's gone. Now, this is one of the other abilities that wasn't working correctly. You see, it wasn't dealing any form of damage towards said mobs. Now, I don't know if that was maybe because the data pack itself was broken, or maybe it's been fixed by these guys now, but from my own testing here, it does now do damage. One little quirk though is, at least in the 1.17.1 variant of it, when I put it into that version of Minecraft, the actual beam itself no longer exists. It may still function correctly with the beam in the 1.16.5 version, because it might be one of the things that get broken cross versions, or maybe it's just broken in general. Not 100% sure on that one, it's up to you for your own testing, but it does do damage now, meaning that you do have that main source of damage from your primary ability. This is one of the abilities that is not attached to your energy bar, it's its own thing that has a very short cooldown that allows you to use it pretty damn often, mainly because of one of the disadvantages that we'll be going over a little bit later. But one of the cool little bit of a beauty that comes with this ability, it does it not only hit one of the mobs that you may shoot the actual Gaster Blaster at, it will actually go through said mob and continue on for quite a fair distance from what I've noticed. It also seems to have a bit of a wide range, so if mobs like just on the outside of your view, but like let's say 1 or 2 blocks off to the side of where you're shooting, the direction you're shooting the beam, it may also hit them at the same time as well. So not only can this go through multiple mobs, as you can see in the clip here where it goes through like a lot of creepers, it can also hit them off to the side if they just go a little bit, if they deviate a little bit off to the other direction from where you actually shot the actual Gaster Blaster. Overall, really useful attack ability. Moving into your next ability, you've got the Bone Attack ability. This of course binds to your attack/destroy button, basically the most used button you'll ever use in Minecraft. It's the button that breaks blocks with your hands. Basically, you should know this ability by now. You should know this button, it's very easy, it's usually your left click button. But whenever you do that, if you're not holding anything while you're using this ability, you'll actually fire bones based upon a bone bar that fully regenerates every few seconds and doesn't take any form of your energy bar for the ability whatsoever. This ability can be held down until it consumes all the actual bone iron bits in its side as well, and it basically is just like shooting arrows. This isn't actually affected by an ability which we'll go over later on, which basically neuters this type of damage. You get a total of 10 shots per round, and once you run out, it takes a few moments for the ability to go back to maximum again, but it basically will sit there for a moment, then the bar will disappear, and then you can start using it again at max health again. It's pretty useful, does a fair bit of damage, and it's got a nice little satisfying beep sound to go along with it. Moving on, we got the almost featherweight ability. This is your secondary key. You can dash by pressing your secondary key. The direction you go is based on what direction you are moving at the time, and this costs your some of your energy bar. Now, this is one of the other things that wasn't precisely working with the last version of this origin. This origin, basically, what was happening in the code was that there was a little bit of something wrong with the code where the ability was just deactivated, so it's just been activated and now it actually functions as intended now. There is a slight variance on how this ability actually works in both versions, in 1.16.5 and 1.17.1, but going over both of them at the same time, one of the big things you need to keep in mind is that you must jump in the air when moving in a direction and then use the ability. If you're not jumping in the air, if you're trying to use the ability when you're just walking on the ground, it will not activate. But the moment you jump into the air and then press your secondary ability key, it will send you flying in a direction. Now, in 1.16.5, it is roughly the same whether you're sprinting or whether you're walking at a normal speed, you will just be flung in a direction. It's not that big of a flung, but it's a nice decent jump in the air. But the 1.17.1 version is a little bit buggy, which is kind of understandable considering that this origin was made for 1.16.5. But one of the weirder things that comes with it, not only do you need to be running to actually get some form of boost out of it, sometimes it doesn't work correctly. Now, I've played around with this in 1.16 and didn't get these issues either. It's mainly just present in the 1.17.1 version, so just keep that in mind. Moving into your next ability, you got Whelp. It was worth a shot. Shift plus primary. At low energy, you can use spare nearby entities. If anyone hits you as the spare messages above their hotbar, you will enter bad time mode. Now, this happens with other players in the actual Minecraft game. It doesn't exactly work with normal mobs, only other players. But basically, when you're low on energy, you can actually ask the player to spare you and not go after you. But once they do so, it will activate the bad time mode, which will move on to the next thing here, the bad time mode. Once you enter your bad time mode, your energy bar is replaced with a bar that will go down no matter what you do. Nothing costs energy except for dodging. There is no cooldown on dashing, and the blaster cooldown is cut in half and you get more bones overall. Once the time runs out though, you will be brought out of bad time and set to an extremely low energy, which means that if you do take any more damage, you may potentially be killed in that set example there. So basically, if you're versing another Sans, don't put them into bad time mode because it ultimately ends up being more damaging and things to you because they get so many buffs. Their bars will just start slowly going down, but they get a lot more damaging abilities, a lot less cooldowns, they have the ability to move far faster, and it's just overall a bad time, so don't do it. Now, from the testing that I did, this doesn't actually quite function as intended. It doesn't exactly work to the full extent, but then there is the message from the guy who's helping fix these bugs that said they have removed the karma features at this point in time as they're trying to look into getting it back in there without breaking other parts of the origin again. So this might be the karma thing that he's talking about that is broken entirely, which is fine. If this is an ability that is lacking, but that's okay. Whilst it does make more sense when it's there for the Sans character as a whole, it's okay to not have a certain ability there in order to make it so the rest of them function as intended instead of being buggy. Moving into your next ability, you've got Failed Experiment. Being a failed experiment for an artificial skeleton project end up leaving you with only 1 heart of health. Now, this doesn't exactly follow the proper rules of how Sans is. In Undertale, Sans only has a single hit point of health, whilst in Minecraft, 1 heart is actually 2 hit points. But with how most mobs tend to do at least 2 hit points worth of damage when you have no armor on, it does overall even itself out. But again, it's just one of those things where it's like certain things that tick down at 1/2 a heart at a time, like fire or poison, it will overall become a little bit of a thing where it doesn't exactly follow the 1 health rule all the damn time. Moving into your next ability, you got Lazy Pile of Bones. As the laziest creature in and all of existence, running out of energy will instantly make you fall asleep, making you unable to attack, break blocks, or even dodge damage. Once the timer bar has passed, you will wake up with half energy bar in total. Basically, it's a thing to discourage you from actually burning your health but your energy bar down to its lowest point. 9 times out of 10, this leaves you vulnerable to the point where you'll most likely die, especially if you're taking fire damage already, or any other forms of damage where it will just kill you upon impact because it's still going even after you run out of your dodge ability. And moving into your next ability, you got Frail Hands. Your bones are frail and without muscle. Magic being the only thing keeping you moving, you encounter some problems. First off, you cannot wear any form of armor whatsoever. You also cannot use shields, you cannot shoot bows, and you don't deal much damage with melee. This is where the helpfulness of your main ability and your bone throw ability come into hand, because you can't use any form of attacking abilities any other way, and you only deal a significant less amount of melee damage than what the average Minecraft player will. So overall, this origin is a really good one. I've gone through this before, you guys probably know most of this already, but this time around it's actually all functioning, and not only that, I've also shown you all the abilities, so make sure to go download this version in the description down below, and also go check out the original video and go support the guy known as Slayer who originally made this origin. Until next time guys, bye bye.